access to abundance, your access to the wealth of the planet, the wealth of what can happen, does not exist in your idea of territory. But this has been the illusion for a long time. The more territory we have, the more resources that we can get, the more power we have. That was the 3D game.
Welcome to Spread Your Third Eye podcast. I am your host, Mia Wright, and we are here with Georgia Jean.
Hello, everybody. Yay, so good to be back.
To take us beyond the veils into other dimensions with the Circle of Light.
That's right. Your friendly, non-physical friends here to support humanity go through an evolutionary shift.
Life-changing. I've been working with them for 3 years. They have changed my life so much that I put this whole project together to get this out to the public because this is not only world shifting, but personal shifting, but world shifting.
Yeah. And actually, can I just share, because I don't know if I've mentioned this much before, you're the second person who wanted to make a podcast about our work, because of course, Mike Tyson's wife, Kiki Tyson,
that's right.
was a client of mine and loved the work so much, asked me to make a podcast for their podcast network. And we made like 10 or 12 episodes coming out of the Cosmic Closet, and they didn't end up doing the whole network that they were talking about.
Yeah.
But that's not, I'm not bragging about me, but I'm just saying the people who've worked with the circle
know how big it is, know how life-changing it is.
Yeah, and it's twice now that people have put money behind us getting this work out more, because I'm just a one-man show.
And if you haven't listened to the circle and you listen to them in this episode, you'll understand like how amazing this information is.
Yeah.
And I'm always so surprised when they come in and how they word things and how they answer questions that you were thinking and haven't even like said out loud. I mean, there's just all sorts of...
It's like an unfolding too. It flows out, and it's sort of, I don't ever know what they're going to say. Like, I'm actually feeling, because this is a topic they gave us.
Yes, in a business meeting with the circle we
have. Cosmic business meetings.
Our cosmic business meeting. We literally have a business meeting every month. And they chose this topic, and it is about different cultures. And I think it's going to be about bringing humanity more in unity.
Yeah, like
how
do we work with like the idea of like territories and different cultures in different regions, and how do we have diversity and be in the oneness at the same time? And obviously there's a lot of strife in the world over things like territories and, you know, terrain and stuff like that. So they wanted to talk about it, and I don't know what they're going to say. So I'm kind of like nervous, but this is like every Monday night, same thing. I never know what's going to come through.
Yeah.
But I've just learned how to trust and let it unfold. So
before we bring them in, let's all go to our heart center and just relax our body, because this is a high frequency portal and this could trance you out as well. So don't drive heavy machinery. If you start to get tired, you'll know that this is the energy.
Receiving some codes.
Yeah. So let's go in our heart centers and really just feeling the center of your chest. And bring them on in whenever you're ready.
All righty. Indeed, dear ones, we are here, and we are most delighted to connect in this way. And we love that you had the instinct to start with the heart centering, because we are going to share about potentialities that really become available through heart centering. Of course, when you're operating through the mind, which is a linear construct, you experience yourselves as singular egoic identities operating through linear space and time. This creates a very static sense of self in relationship to the rest of the world, meaning you experience yourself as being a single person standing or sitting at a place in a moment of time. And this is such a profound definer of your reality. And it creates a lot of challenge when it comes to this idea of a unified field, because essentially that whole construct is created in order for you to experience yourself in a singularity and not in the oneness with all that is. We've been sharing more and more that if you could actually see yourself as consciousness, because even when you imagine yourselves as consciousness, you probably still perhaps imagine yourself as being you, but like perhaps this shiny, sparkly version of you relating to other shiny, sparkly versions of people. But in truth, there really isn't any division, and you really are still in the ocean. You really are in the ocean of all consciousness. And it's only the brain that is creating the sense of separation and your relativity through that separation. So when you perceive other nations, other places on earth, territory, all of this stuff, this is all part of the construct generated by the mind, by the brain, and keeping out that ocean of energy, that ocean of what you actually really are at bay. So the mind is a very, very, very powerful construct to keep all of that stuff at bay, because it's really not what's going on at all. So it's a little bit of a joke in a sense that you feel this idea of separation and territory so profoundly, because it's really almost like the antithesis of what your actual true nature of consciousness actually is. But again, it's a powerful part of your game. So we wanted to talk to you about this because increasingly, as you move into more of a 5D reality, which is staying in your singular avatar, but actually experiencing the nature of who you really are in a more visceral way. This idea of terrain, time, space, and separation will first become more amplified before it's able to dissolve somewhat more into the greater new game that you're playing. And it's very important to understand that your trepidations and really everything that creates your sense of the political world, the global community, the just everything that speaks to this sort of bigger planetary engagement can start to feel more amplified in a threatened way right before you're about to transcend that limitation that the mind is creating. And the nervous system, of course, we talk about this all the time because it's so important for you to understand how your reality is contracted by survival consciousness. The nervous system determining very rapidly, is somebody a friend or somebody a foe? Is somebody safe or somebody an enemy? And that part of your framework is very defining of how you experience life itself. So as that's deconstructing, there is this sort of threat response, which makes you feel anxiety, nervous, threatened or fearful around people that seem to be other than you, other than your stream of consciousness. Each one of you is a specific stream of consciousness. You are created by a certain cocktail of consciousness forming in this singularity to create the particular person that you are. Mia is not the same cocktail of consciousness that Georgia is, but all of that consciousness, every ingredient in the cocktails of consciousness exists within that bigger fabric that is the human intelligence, what generates the human experience. And of course, we've also talked that many of you are bringing in broader streams of galactic consciousness that are less human, but are being hybridized here to create new levels of the game that you're playing. So a lot of the threat that you also fear around territory and other people is that you're sensing that this other broader intelligence is also
Ah.
moving in, and the human egoic identity that has defined its safety through identifying mainly with its connected tribal group is even more worked up by this even more foreign energy that's starting to merge in with the collective. And because most people on Earth don't actually understand what's going on this bigger level, there is heightened frictions between anything that feels like other, and this desire from the primal nervous system to build walls, create further separation, bring gather in groups that are specifically just like me, because that's what feels safe to the nervous system. But you are going through a shift in the creative game. So those systems that try and keep everything in the power structures of that separate field really aren't going to work in the new energy. So a lot of stuff that's rising up right now that's trying to maintain sameness is actually going to ultimately collapse and in the new consciousness energy, because it's just not the game anymore. So people who are sort of trying to keep some kind of sense of purity about this or that, it's not going to be able to hold the frequency, because that is not what consciousness is in its broadest form. There are lots of imprints that come from things where survival consciousness has been woven into religious or spiritual understandings of reality that put this purity idea up on a pedestal, but as like God's chosen people or this sort of thing. But that's not what consciousness is. That's not what consciousness is. And that's not what all consciousness is. All consciousness is everything. Everything is a valuable part of all that is. There is no superior and inferior. And this is a challenging new reweave that humanity is going through. The desire to integrate more and the resistance to move against it. And again, as always, we say, if you're feeling confused, how does this work? How's it going to work out with humanity? With so many different types of people, so many people that seem to be in tribal alignments at many levels that want to just resonate with that. And maybe they should all hang out together in a certain part of the of Earth and live together in this part of Earth where everybody agrees on this idea together. But the issue with that is that even your concept of time and space is also starting to break down. And so even if you were to get all of the people who let's just say they all just love potatoes, just to keep it neutral, everybody who loves potatoes just lives in this area, and they focus all their energy on the finest potatoes that could possibly come forward. As your sense of time and space begins to dissolve, and it's dissolving because it's actually going to make you a lot more creative and what you might see as productive, because it allows manifestation to come through the veils much more rapidly. This sense of territorial space is also going to begin to dissolve. And it won't work to just have everybody's the same over in this region, because your sense of region itself is not going to be the same in the 5D. Your sense of time and space are changing. We like to give you this idea of bandwidth more, resonant bandwidth. And logically, it may make sense. Like, oh, well, everybody who's on the same bandwidth hang out in the same area in time and space. But again, that time and space perception is not going to be the same. So, what we would rather you come to grips with is this idea that where you exist is your own multidimensional field, and the bandwidth that you're on can always be creating and generating what you need, what you align with, wherever you are at any moment in time. Because, and this comes back to this idea of agency, that people are also trying to understand this idea of self-agency, meaning what is good for me and being standing in the power of myself, whilst being in the unified field with others. Again, how does this work? But what you're going to start to understand about your reality as linear time and space begin to break down more and more, you will understand that where you match and meet people isn't a moment in time and it isn't a place. It is a bandwidth that can exist anywhere at any point in time.
Wow.
And the meeting points that you have with those that feel resonant happen in almost a multiverse of experience that's ever changing.
Well, now I'm confused. Is there still like a planet Earth but we're only meeting at different bandwidths? Like, how does that, is planet Earth like a physical place?
We're going to take a moment here because, again, there's many points that we can answer that question from. So we want to give you the best piece of information.
Which dimension are you perceiving this at?
Yes. There are no places. From the broader perspective, there are no places.
But then what is, just for funsies, because it might be getting off topic, but what is physical Earth to us if there's no places?
It's consciousness
compared
in a
to,
saturation.
Okay.
And that is what creates a sense of place.
But when Georgia skydives and she sees the round Earth underneath her.
Yes. Yes.
And the plants.
Yes. Yes. It is a consciousness. But remember, it is the mind, it is the avatar that you play with that defines it into something that looks like a round planet. But this is why we're saying, if you actually are outside of the mind, you're just in the ocean. You're in an ocean of consciousness that is saturating into experiences. And then the mind takes the frequencies that are saturating and puts it into form. And your sense of reality, and again, whilst you're in the egoic framework, you're still going to have a degree of linearity. You're still going to have aspects of the core illusions that you have operated under, because that's just the game. You're not taking the game away. When you die, the game's gone. You're back in the ocean. Your perception of existence is just back in the ocean, if that makes sense. But within the ocean of creativity, there are saturations where consciousness builds, and you perceive that once you're in the egoic framework as space-time reality.
Okay.
Yes. So what we're trying to help you understand is that your greatest power doesn't exist in winning territory. Your access to greatest power, your access to abundance, your access to the wealth of the planet, the wealth of what can happen, does not exist in your idea of territory. But this has been the illusion for a long time. The more territory we have, the more resources that we can get, the more power we have. That was the 3D game. if I can take over the Monopoly game board with as much territory as possible, I will have the resources and I will have the power. And this is why historically you fight for territory, and historically you perceive invasion into your territory is a loss of power, and that's why there is this real thing. But they better not let the boogie people into this territory, because we'll lose power, we'll lose control. That's all the game of the mind, and the mind is always disempowered compared to the true nature of consciousness. And for those of you who really want to elevate humanity, we want you to really let go of this idea of territory. It's very tempting right now as you're trying to figure out how to alleviate these problems of humanity. Would it just make more sense to put all the people who believe in this thing in one area, and they can play that game together? And temporarily you may see sort of circuits of affinity build, but ultimately your greatest power is accessed through not being defined by such illusions. That's where you can really bring in world-changing technologies. It's not even technologies. Again, we've touched on this before. It's understanding the system of the energy of the planet itself to harness things that we've talked about that you would perceive as portals and gateways in the planetary energy. There's so much that's at the energetic level of this planet that can be harnessed to alleviate issues that you have here. When you fight over territory, there's part of an instinct there where you feel on some level these certain areas do have vortexed energy. And this is why there'll be fights over certain regions of the planet, because of the nature of the energetic vortexes that are operating there.
Like an example. An example.
Well, Jerusalem.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where the pyramids are. These sorts of juncture points where people feel energy and naturally want to build or own or contain these spaces. But the energy vortexes that are in these locations, Sedona, whatever you want to call it, those vortexes are still just gateways. They're not the goal. Does that make sense? Being around them, owning the territory, that's not the goal. The goal is what the activation of these vortexes do. You can't control the vortexes. People think that they can. People think, if I keep this energy area to be mine, then we will thrive off this energy area. But anyone can tap into a vortex from anywhere on the planet, because the vortex are the gateways through the constraints of the 3D construct. The vortexes are the gateways through into the field of creativity, where you can access greater resources of power, intelligence. And by power, we mean the energy to create, the intelligence that brings in innovation, and also the intelligence that knows how to build reality in the unified field.
Well, the governments are fighting over territories.
Yes.
So how do we as a single individual put this into action? Because I'm not fighting over the territory of Sedona. Maybe if I buy a house there and I live there, or my house here.
Yes.
So how do we as a single
So
person...
little stories of territory come up all the time, though, because you do have the idea of, for example, people buying houses in areas that are sacred to the indigenous people and not understanding the consciousness of that area. So these many people, as you are breaking down this 3D structure of territory, will often create storylines that speak to territory, whether it's just somebody fighting with a neighbor or the bigger war stories that you see on the quantum field. And we're trying to bring this up to you because, yes, you may see yourself as just not being in a hot spot where that's happening. And the way always through is, of course, as we say, the heart. And being aware of this theme and not buying into the theme when you see it. Because it's it speaks to a big illusion, again, this illusion of space, that is a major framework of the 3D mind that keeps you out of the power of the knowingness of the 5D mind and how to access the bigger resources of energy that are available for everybody. And one of the ways you can help, even from a little me perspective, is if you hold this understanding that the fear that people feel around territories, that they fear it around someone stealing their parking space. If they're not in a war-torn country, they fear it about just losing their home, or they fear, but there's many ways that the theme plays out. That again, if you can sit with the energy of the theme and reclaim it just as energy, you'll help yourself and the collective pop through this very contracted aspect of the egoic framework and ascend, quote unquote, into your next level, into your next bandwidth. Bandwidth, again, when we talk about bandwidth, it's an idea that we're bringing in more and more to help you understand. And we was shared about this the other day. Bandwidth, an obvious metaphor for us to use is the idea of a rainbow, but still you're perceiving that quite linearly. Green goes into blue, blue goes into purple, but it still feels like it's on a flat plane. But bandwidth itself also is interdimensional.
Okay.
Bandwidth is multidimensional, it's interdimensional. So you can be connecting on, it's not just a road of bandwidth that's the same and we all hang out on this road. It's like a multidimensional road that's moving through time and space, and you're just meeting at certain points on these highways of frequency, and that doesn't operate in linear time space. So when you start getting really hoardy about, well, this is the power center here and we should hang on to this, and we don't want other people moving into this territory or terrain, or we want to saturate everything over here that's about this, you're actually missing out on this enormous power structure that helps you manifest. Manifestation is happening all the time. Your entire reality is a manifestation. It is a creation that's pulling in codes and energy to project this existence. And your mind creates it as a linear time-space construct. But again, if you took away the mind, you would just see the ocean of energy moving in constant flow as bandwidth points are met throughout that, bringing then that saturation that through the idea, the 3D, or through the egoic construct, you would experience that as manifestation. But that's why we're trying to help you understand that the problems that you're trying to solve around territory, where should everybody go? Where should these people live now? Who owns this territory? What sort of person should be running this area? Should everything be the same? Should we govern reality by rules that keep humanity into certain collective agreed behaviors? These structures, the more you try to implement them to solve your problems, they're going to break down, because that's not how consciousness operates the best. Your rules create a lot of the problems in many ways.
So give me a solution to, if we were to open up the borders to Mexico, because we're in the U.S.
Indeed, yes.
There now, it poses problems, I know, in the U.S. because when we open up the borders, there's people that get free medical and free all sorts of stuff, and it drains our resources.
In your illusion of the mind.
Okay,
And
so
and the Earth's resources.
and I'm not. By the way, I'm not against or for. I'm
Yes,
just saying I've
yes.
heard
That's
people
a
say
story-
that. I
that's
really
a
stay out of
storyline.
politics
Yes.
myself. I don't.
Yes,
But-
that's a storyline that the fear-based construct of the primitive mind that fears losing control will start to amplify these stories. If we let those people in, they're going to take from us, we're going to suffer, and this is a big problem. And then it'll find any small evidence of that and then amplify it, and keep everybody afraid and keep everybody maintaining the potency of these illusions of time and space, which translates to your concepts of territory. First of all, the earth is abundant. The earth has abundant resources. The earth doesn't like the resources being hoarded and controlled. And part of the reason why the pressure is on to move into the 5D is because it's going to help break some of that illusory control, domination of the resources that the earth generates as available for you to play your game here. You guys don't own the earth. No country owns the earth. The earth allows any human game to be here. And in order for you to maintain your residency on the earth playing this game, the earth wants you to move into 5D. So
The earth is ready. The earth is ready.
yes.
Like, all right,
yes,
guys.
Yes.
Let's go.
Let's go. Because the earth, it is against, well, we don't want to say it's against the earth's ethos, but the earth doesn't want the resources hoarded. So anyone who's operating under any national illusion that they own the resources of the earth, already these are destabilized frameworks. And we really want you to understand this, because you're going to see that a lot of the territorial control begins to fail more and more. And it really wastes resources when you fight over territory. It wastes so many resources, even if you think about how many resources go into the mechanism of war to fight over resources. It's ridiculous
Oh my
to
gosh,
say
it's
you're
so
worried
true.
about people getting some food from your country when you're ready to go to war and waste so much more of the resources. And we're talking about the resources of intelligence. We're talking about the resources of energy. Think about war, how much energy is actually in it, and you're draining all of that to fight over the idea that somebody might take some of your food or health care.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's sort of ridiculous, dear ones. But these are the things that are going to become more and more apparent as the egoic mind starts to break down in the absurdity of these notions. And we will say that in order for you to be cracked on this level, and a necessary level to understand this, the earth, the consciousness that is your own broader collective consciousness as well, the fabric of the broader human intelligence, is going to not entertain these strategies anymore very successfully. So the futility of staying in this paradigm, 3D construct paradigm, of trying to hold resource can be broken, because your true power comes from being able to surf the bandwidths of consciousness that are beyond linear time, space, reality. Your greatest innovations that will ascend the collective won't be downloaded over a fight over healthcare, for example. That is not power. That is not power at all. That is a very limited construct, because even the notion of what healthcare is or why you need healthcare can be transcended when you surf the multidimensional bandwidths of intelligence that can solve a lot of these problems that are created from the 3D, like ill health. If we're talking about people are coming over the border and taking healthcare,
Okay.
and the American people are paying for it, or whoever, it's such a limited construct. That's not where your solutions are going to be manifested from. So as an individual, we would say, receiving this information, don't play into the game of it.
Okay.
Don't play into the game of it. Don't play into any of the storylines of fear and polarity and division and separation. And when they push those survival buttons on you that say, oh gosh, if these people get more power, they're going to destroy us by taking all the resources. Just don't play into these games. It's up to you as leading edge creators. You may not be able to explain this to your friends who are still highly polarized, but in your own heart, in your own energy, in your own standpoint, even when it starts to tickle up on you, that you start to feel fear about, oh, what if we do let everybody in? And it could be as simple as something, and then the cost of houses are going to go up, and they'll never be able to afford a house when everybody's moved here and everybody wants, or I won't be able to afford rent, or whatever it is.
But that does actually happen to people. So
when you're playing in that game, when you're playing in the 3D
Okay.
game, you will project that illusion.
Okay.
So anybody that's happening to is creating that illusion from their programming.
Okay.
So we're trying to get you out of your programming that would even play that
Put that in your
storyline
reality.
out.
Yeah.
Yes. Because you're each creating your own reality. That's what we're saying. In your now moment, transcending time and space, you're creating your reality. You're creating your safety. You're creating your abundance. You're creating your food. The rest of that other stuff, it's what we call the shiny toys of the mind, trying to keep you in the illusion. You have to protect yourself from all of these other oppositional forces that are trying to get what you have, and you're going to lose. You're going to be worse off if you don't maintain that defensive position. And we're saying that is the mind. The defensive position is the mind. Your power to create and manifest completely transcends that. And what is the idea, again, even the sort of idea of where you live or whatever it is, it's the experience that you're having in every moment that's getting raised. Does that make sense? Now, of course, you're all welcome to enjoy different aspects of the material experience. Nobody's saying that you all have to sort of not have houses that you like anymore or live in places that you like anymore. But you're always going to be that creator of that. So if you can liberate yourself from that illusion in your threat response, then you are accessing all consciousness to create an experience that is of well-being for you. But when you're in the heart, it's well-being for you and everybody that you perceive sharing that space with you, whether it is your neighbors, your family, whether it is your perception of the bigger world collective at large. You don't have to protect yourself from energy. Energy is energy. The more you think you have to protect yourself from energy, the less resourced you are, the less you are able to flow in that multidimensional bandwidth of alignment that brings forward manifestation so much faster and brings more flow into every moment of experience that you have. If you're in fear about the other, you're in resistance. You are pinching off your supply. And that the fear, of course, we're talking about this as well, because the fear is extending now to the galactic territory. And who's going to own the universe? Or are beings going to come here and take our planet away from us? Again, it's not your planet, but but or do we have to move to another planet and take over another planet to have better well-being? And we're saying no, dear ones. No, you've got to get out of this limited construct, because it's all flowing into your now moment. And when you're in your heart, you're balancing that. You're going to experience a very beneficial experience for everybody that you're coexisting in, whatever planet or dimension you're on. Even if you do go off planet, the principles are the same while you are operating through your egoic mind. If you go to Mars and you are in survival mind programming, you're going to create the same problems. Or amplified problems, because now you're in some unknown territory to your nervous system. So your nervous system is going to freak out and make it probably even worse. And this is why we say it's an inside job, dear ones, for you to create a harmonic collective experience. But as the mind, 3D mind, is being broken down, this concept of threat from other is getting amplified to keep you in this known zone. And we say your liberation is beyond that. Don't buy into it, even if it feels very real. Even if it really feels like the neighbor took your parking spot and you suffered for 5 minutes because of it, or you suffer every day from that. They're always blocking your driveway, and so you're always having problems getting out, and that sets your day off on a bad day. And so it feels very real that this territorial storyline is creating an issue that is affecting your whole life. And we're saying, as soon as you catch your mind creating an issue of territory, understand that this is one of the indicators of major threshold resistance that you can transcend. Remember, the process creates the projection. If you want to be a powerful manifester, don't play that game. Okay. Don't, even if it feels very real, even if the threat feels very real, don't play it, because it will keep you in a limited, disempowering construct.
You heard it from here.
Indeed, dear ones. Yes, indeed. Trust that the heart knows how to balance everything, because the balance is happening not in linear time and space. It happens in the multidimensional field. You don't have to create everything perfect in your environment to experience a life of joy in every moment. It's your game. We really want you to get that. Somebody crossing a border and eating a sandwich is not taking from you. It is the way your mind is creating that disempowerment that's taking from you in every way. And if you're in a disempowered territorial program, you'll amplify that, so it'll start to feel more personal. And you can stay lost in that shiny toy for as long as you want to play that out, until you also come to the edge of that illusion and realize that it's actually a rubbish construct, and that you could just liberate yourself from it right now in this moment. Right now in this moment. Be free of that limitation right now in this moment. The codes, they're in this transmission right now in this moment. Don't let the mind control you on that storyline.
Love it. Get into your heart centers.
Indeed, dear
Get out
ones.
of your minds.
Yes, indeed. We adore you all so very much. Until we're meeting in this way or some other way, we love you very much. And for now, we'll say goodbye, dear ones. Goodbye.
Okay.
All right.
All right. The future of humanity.
Ooh.
Opening up borders, maybe. Not fighting over territory. Being more unified.
And this, the way I was seeing that multidimensional bandwidth thing, because when I'm channeling, I can see the concepts as well. And as much as I can verbalize it, it's hard to get it across what that looks like as I'm seeing it in my brain. This kind, like, manifested. So think about a highway of energy, and it's all just like going like this, and it's like at these little moments where different bandwidths meet inside that ocean, that something becomes manifest. But our mind experience puts that together.
But then we're blocking the movement sometimes.
Well, because when we're like going, it's got to be, when we're trying to do it through our 3D, that's basically saying manifestation happens when I walk this way and when this happens, and it's just like limited. So when we're in our fear, it's like freezes that multidimensional bandwidth highway, because they've been talking about this bandwidth idea, and even up until recently, even as it was coming in, I was seeing it more like, well, we're all in this bandwidth here. The 5D is here, but it's really just like more like
Wow.
this, because that's how creation
Consciousness.
happens.
Yeah, yeah.
From the ocean pulling in all the resources to saturate something into manifestation. So that's why I really get what they're saying, that if you start thinking that it's about, that power is about terrain, you're just in a limited game. You're in a lack game. And that's not where we're going to access what we need to bring forward the game changers, basically. We have to be on the multidimensional bandwidth to download it in, to saturate it in.
Yeah.
Yeah. The rest is like peanuts, basically, energetically.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think those portals and that sense of territory around this power center and that power center, that's just like they're saying, it's just gateways into being able to go into, they have
Beyond
a
the 3D
frequency.
construct.
Yeah. Like even like the Monday nights, it's like we create this podcast, we're creating a multidimensional experience. So this is one of those places that you can enter into that multidimensional bandwidth field where you can start pulling things in to saturate into manifestation, because of the frequency engagement here is the gateway, basically. Same with Monday nights, but same with those places that we go to that feel like they have a special frequency, but we can access that. We don't need to go there. I mean, it's cool when you go there, but yeah.
Pretty cool.
Woo! I don't know. Did that make sense to you? Did you have some things ping up on that?
I was going to listen to it twice, as it's there's some things that are like, a little bit difficult to understand, because I'm not a very territorial.
No.
So I'm not on the news.
No.
So it's like, how do I put this into my daily life personally?
Yeah. I mean, I think
rewatch this a couple of times.
I think,
which I do anyways, because I edit them. But
you edit them and stuff. I think when people realize that the theme is territory, and sometimes it is just like the territory over an idea, like it was my idea.
That's what I was like.
Yeah.
I wanted to get more examples.
Yeah, like the territory of, we all have ways where we're like, my mango.
But I did know I was like yawning. I felt like this was like, this is trancing me out a little bit.
Yeah, transing. Yeah, for sure. Because that is a big
idea,
multidimensional concept. And we have to be exposed to these things concept-wise and energetically to be able to actually operate.
Deconstruct too, start to take our walls down, because there's a lot of fear behind, like, well, what if we let our borders open?
Yeah, again, and that's all just a story that's because we're going through a big shift.
Yeah.
Cool. And it's like one side saying it like that, somebody else is saying it a different way, but it really doesn't matter.
All right. Well, we'll let you guys chew on that. Share it with some of your buddies that are all into this stuff, And,
excuse me. Sorry. My territory, my throat is getting taken over by the beings.
All right, guys. If you have any questions, our links are down below. And let us know where you're from.
Yeah.
I want to know where you're hearing from. Yeah. There's no territories here. Open to everybody. No borders around here. We're open to y'all. Love you.
Bye.